here we are again. It's happening again. Moose was right. Arknights Endfield may be the most divisive gacha game, and not for the reason you might think. Not because there's crazy doom posters out there who are just like willfully just ignorant and just purposely doom posting and rage baiting the game to get clicks, and we know those people. But the game has somewhat become divisive, and I'll probably say more so in the actual people who enjoy the game, in the communities of the people who enjoy the game, the people who are coming into Endfield from other games and who are having issues, whether that be with tutorials, the base building, the style of combat, the story, the world building, whatever it might be, or the subsection of the community that comes from Arknights who had an expectation, a vision, and have been treated a particular way within Arknights and have expectations of quality that might not quite be being hit in regards to storytelling, story, and actual world building at the moment, which I am one of them in some of those degrees, if I'm honest. And I think everybody has issues with the early story of this game. But I think Moose might have been right. A divisive game of times, right? Probably one of the most recently divisive games in the gacha space, if I can get my words out. And this time, it's coming down to Yvonne's cheeks, which I am a fan of Yvonne. I think she's a great looking character, right? I love her personality as well, but I'm not going to be pulling for her because I haven't pulled for any of the starter characters, right? But let's just watch a little bit of this video and then let's go into what we're talking about here, because it's another person in the space who we've spoken about before around Endfield, and it was caused some clamour, if you will. So let's have a little look at this then, shall we? And then let's get into some of the posts then, shall we? Because we've got some stuff to talk about, because at first I'm like, what's everyone talking about? But then once again, I think dude's causing more trouble for himself, right? But let's just have a look here. Let's click on it. The recoil is insane, right? I saw a post. Somebody was like, I swear Yvonne's tail's moving up and down her back. And someone was like, as long as there's space from a rod. I was like, okay, bro. Okay, all right, okay. Chill out now.
Next time Frosty Bitey meets enemies, they're stuck in high-tech bubbles. oh, Antonin, were you taking photos of me?
Now, look, I do think it's a little bit cringe, right? And it's not exactly my style, but it's Yvonne's style, and it makes sense for Yvonne, right? And there's going to be people who absolutely adore this trailer itself. It doesn't really bother me. I'm not hating it. I'm loving the recoil. But other than that, it's just like, okay, it's a character I'm not going to be pulling for, but it's a character I like, and it's fitting, right? Hobro didn't really see it like that, right? Now, this tweet, I looked at it and I was like, I don't know why people are mad about this personally. Well, I do, but it doesn't make me mad, and I think people do need to get thicker skins. But I think Tolbro's having the problem that he had before. He keeps repeating the same problem, and I think that's his issue, and he's an intelligent dude as well. He did tweet not long back as well that he was going to reflect on his actions and attempt to stop being toxic, because he'd realised that he was becoming a toxic voice within the space, right? And I respect that, and I think dude can say what he wants about the game. It's his opinion, right? So let's have a look at this tweet then. So I'm in awe at how dog shit this is. Absolute coal. I like that. Easily one of the most cringe things Hypergryph has ever made. Now I must admit, it's a little bit cringe, right? But there's cringe and there's bad cringe. I think this was just light cringe that actually was endearing. But I guess that makes me a bot though, because he follows up with, I refuse to believe anyone who finds this endearing is anything but a literal real life NPC, which you don't really need to add that there. And I can understand why some people would be annoyed at that, right? You've got to understand that people will see that and be like, oh wait, I like that. What the fuck? I'm a bot? Fuck you, bro. I found it endearing, so he's calling me a bot as well, but I'm not offended, right? Because it's like, it is what it is. It's a throwaway statement. But it becomes less of a throwaway statement when you look at, like, the pattern. It's becoming a bit of a pattern now with Tolbro, right? If we go over here to look at this, and we can see, like, some of the posts from his Discord, which I'm not going to get into all of these here, right? Because there's some crazy statements, and again, as somebody who is not into like lolicon stuff and lollies, and it makes me a bit uncomfortable, right? But I think there's some logical jumps, and then you start throwing around statements like PDFs towards people, you're going to get some pushback. Of course you are. We've had a whole thing going on within the gacha space recently around Saint and that sort of stuff, and people don't like that word just being thrown around willy-nilly. So We can see these posts here where he says, it's so fucking cool how it's just the meta to treat me like I'm not a human being and just nebulous entity to shit on every now and then for internet points. Even people who are otherwise capable of nuance and critical thinking will just be like, lol, fuck that guy. Am I right? High five. When it's like, when you make tweets like this, bro, you're removing the good faith and nuance that people can take from this, because you're objectively saying this is the shittiest thing they've ever made, and if you like it, you're a fucking bot. Now, you remove any subjectivity from this because it comes as an objective statement, right? Which is fine if you want to frame it like that, but it's just not, because it's, you know, some people are going to love this. Not for me, but I found it endearing, but some people are going to absolutely love it, right? Because it's different strokes for different folks and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, see, you've got to expect then you're going to get pushback. So this idea that people are just shitting on you for no reason, it's not exactly true, right? And then we've got another tweet here, or message here, sorry, should I say. I get it, dude. I really do. It's just extremely hard to give a shit when I'm being vilified and called Saint Tontas 2.0, which is rough to be called that. But when we look at the word that's being thrown around here on a regular basis, that's probably why you're being called that, right? Which you've got to be careful with that word. Now, again, I don't want to get into that whole argument, right? And some people will say, well, I don't know, man, people who do like that stuff, maybe they are. And then other people say, no, it's just fucking drawings. I don't like it myself, right? But you got to be careful when you're accusing people and insinuating this. Well, dude's just straight up accusing people. Like, he even mentions, like, Rory Pupper and stuff down here. Like, you know, dude's throwing that accusation out towards people. So to be like, wow, why are people mad at me? It's not just in a vacuum, right? Without even doing a fraction of the shit they've done, you must surely understand why I become so jaded. I think you've been jaded for a while on the game, dude. Right, look, I still need to watch this video, right? A generational mistake, Arknights Endfield. Like, Tolboro's asked me to watch this, and I've got a lot of time for Tolboro in terms of his content, because I think he's very eloquent, he's intelligent, I think he makes really good videos as well. I think he frames them very well, although, like, in his previous video, specifically around like the dodge and the vision of Enfield, I disagreed on a lot of things. Some stuff I agreed with, but even the stuff I didn't, I got his motivation and where he was coming from, and I thought he made very well-formed arguments. And it's just like, okay, I get that. And you know what? You might even be correct in the long run. I don't think you will, but who knows, right? Who knows? Because a lot of this is stuff that we just will have to wait to decide or to see if he was correct on some of the things he was saying, right? But as I say, if we go back to this sort of stuff, you know, when you're throwing around stuff like this and saying, you know, you're becoming jaded now, it seems like you've been jaded for a while, because this tweet initially, when you put this up, when we first saw Rossi in the game, literally, you saw the cutscene, you didn't even give yourself time to reflect upon it, and you went straight to Twitter and started saying, huge day for Epstein fans, where I did not get any of that energy from this scene. I was using the female Enmin for one anyway, so maybe there's a bit of a different feel to it, right? Plus, Gremlin, Penguin, for life. I love the female Enmin. But I just got like a younger character that was in awe of seeing the Enmin again and got excited and nervous and shy. And that's what I got from it. I don't know if, like, because of the sniffing, that made you feel a bit uncomfortable. You've got to remember, it's Arknights, all right. Racial, the types for the races and stuff. So it's just like, you know, I think that was more on you, if I'm honest. And then, you know, after that, you went on to call somebody a paedophile because they pushed back against what you were saying in your chat. That's somebody who actually used to come to my streams as well. And I've never got that vibe from them. They like to poke fun and have a little troll now and again, but I've never got that vibe. So, you know, just to throw these round and then wonder why you're being called Saint Tontas. It's like, that's why you're being called Saint Tontas, right? Again, I just want to say, the lolly stuff, not for me. I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable, right? Especially how some people get with it. They get fucking really, really what's it with it. But anyway, I got this tweet from Suba where he says, this can't be good for your cortisol levels, man. Calm down. Step back from the computer. It's not that serious. Which I do agree. Like, I think, like, with Tolburu, right, I'm never going to hear to tell people to police what they're saying about a video game. Because at the end of the day, it's a video game. I ain't going to get mad about it. As I said, this was an objective post, and he's calling people who disagree a moron. A very Saint Tontas-like statement, if you will. I'm not calling him Saint, as I say, I think that's unfair. But you can, there's reasons why, dude. You've got to see the parallels. This is why you're being called these things, because you're doing things that kind of reflect like that, right? You're making subjective statements become objective facts and then wondering why people are going, what the fuck are you saying, bro? Because you're also wrapping up insults towards people who disagree with you on a subjective take. But as I said, I do have time for the dude. And this is what he said. Genuine awe at how bad it is. Goon ads are okay when they're good, but this isn't even good. One of the most, if not the most, cringe pieces of utter dogshit HG has ever created. Once again, framing it as an objective fact, but he's talking from his own opinion here. What has my game become, man? Every fucking day is 9/11 with this corpse of a game. I am dreading the bullshit they're making to promote Rossi. Again, from that post, and this is why dude put out a post, as I said, saying, I'm going to try and stop being part of the toxic conversations around the game. I'm going to reflect and move on. But he's not. You know, I don't know how recently this was. It's this year. Right, this is this year. So it's clear that even though he said he was going to try to stop being like that, he's gone instantly back to the Rossi stuff again and making these statements again. Right, again, totally his own opinion to make. And as I said, I'm not going to be out here shitting on Tolbro in that sense. I'm just trying to make sense of potentially why he's seeing the replies that he's seeing. And you can't be shocked about it. Like, if you're an intelligent dude, you got to see it, right? What fucking timeline do we live in that Enfield is courting gacha grailers significantly more than Wua is I want to die? Again here, just like, I agree with Super here, dude. Just relax a little bit. You do need to relax a little bit here, right? I think this is what it's all down to. What has my game become? I think Tolboro's from the ilk of people within the Arknights community who had a massive expectation, and granted, understandable expectation from Arknights because of what it represents, how it deals with stuff, and just the amazing, like, not even gacha game, video game and story that it is. If you haven't played the game, I implore people to, because it is, oh man, it's good in so many. To call it a tower defense game is such an insult to the game, but it's got so many good story beats and world building, insane, like dark stuff. You know, it's got a touch of everything, right? So I understand the expectations from people, but that is basically a book with stages in it. You know, it's a book with PNGs. We're not going to get the same sort of storytelling, and it's just going to be a different game altogether. It's not really even a true sequel. It's just an expansion of the universe. And I think people like Tolbro had a vision of what the game was going to be and what it should be, and because it isn't there, it does really frustrate them. But we've got to understand, end of the day, it's Hypergryph's vision. Just because we think it should have been something else and it's not, doesn't mean it was ever going to be that thing, right? And just because of gameplay systems have changed, and we've seen some darker tones slightly lightened up within the game, which I do agree. I think they are trying to call the mainstream audience. Again, it's this idea of, again, we're talking really objective facts here as well, aren't we? I think he did respond to Super here as well. So let's have a look what he's got to say here. So he's retweeting Super here from that tweet we've just read. And again, much love to Super. Great CC. The Italian stallion. Got nothing but respect for Super. This tweet is incredible. And I will say as well, Tolbro does seem to have a hate boner for Super. And I don't know why. Like, he said some quite nasty things about Super. Again, this is what I say. This is why he's getting the sort of things said about him that he's getting said about him. Got to be honest, right? This tweet is incredibly telling, dude. Not only is this image plucked directly from a gacha grail chud, but the two screenshots in it are an entire week apart. I'm not sure what the relevance of that is. Disregarding all the completely normal conversations in my server, and you take it as an opportunity to score a cheap one-up without even thinking to understand any of the context. I suppose it's fair. There isn't much context there. We can't see what he's replying to, so I think that's a fair point to make there, right? Before this tweet, I had said nothing on here since 3 entire days ago when I made an explicitly positive and optimistic tweet about the game. I haven't had much attention for an entire month. Actually, I post one crude tweet expressing disdain for a specific piece of terrible fan service, notably not fan service in general, which I've repeatedly said I don't mind at all. It gets dogpiled, and that was the reason enough for you to say some paternalistic bullshit about cortisol levels. Tolbro, we gotta say, with this tweet, right, it's because you're stating it as an objective fact that it's shit, and if you like it, you're a bot. That's why you got dogpiled. As I said, if this last part of this tweet wasn't here, you'd have probably got some people mad, because people get mad. Like, this whole tweet doesn't even make me mad. But the the addition of this onto the first part of the tweet is going to make some people mad. It is. Yeah, and you probably knew that as well, because I remember when you tweeted out that Rossi stuff, you kept rewriting the tweet. You knew what you were doing. So to be surprised when people get mad, act like, why are people dogpiling on me? You know, you're an intelligent dude. Come on. The weird thing is that we literally share the same view of shit like this. You explicitly said you don't want Enfield to become the harem slop for incels like Wua, but deleted it as soon as these very same chuds started giving you heat. I choose to express the exact same sentiment, just with stronger language and more conviction, and now you're acting like the bigger man. So much for contacting me privately, then get off my ass. So, and this is a tweet here, didn't realise sharing an opinion could cause such an uproar. We've all got to learn this. I know this. Deleting that post, no point keeping it up if it only breeds asinine discourse. I still think Enfield stories should not focus on romance, like AK. Some stories should be able to exist without the MC ever being involved. And I agree massively with this. I agree with what's being said here, right? I do. I can contact privately next time if so wish, assuming there will be a need for a next time at all. There's something you want out of me, ask. Okay, so I don't mind super deleting a tweet, if I'm honest, or a post and saying, you know, it was just generating shit discourse. That's fair. That's fair to do, in my personal opinion. And then just replying back with, look, you know, I don't like this shit, but maybe the way it was worded is just creating a shit discourse. Fine thing to do, right? Which is kind of what happened with this, because the way you framed it, it created a shitty discourse, because it was kind of framed in a bit of an objective way and said to people, fuck you if you like it, basically, right? So, of course, you're going to get people saying, fuck you back. Again, what's this person saying? Dude, I don't know how many times it takes you to get into the exactly, this is what I'm thinking. Dude keeps, it's like insanity, the definition of insanity. He keeps doing the same thing and then wondering like, what, wait, why is everyone getting on my ass, man? I don't get this. By now, even if you're correct, right, which again, you're turning something that's subjective into an objective fact, which is just, you know, some people are going to like it. They're not wrong for liking it. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's objectively bad, right? That's just how it is. That's how taste works, right? You know, one man's fucking medium rare is another man's fucking objectively bad, by the way. No, I'm joking, but you know, well done. So that's where you've caused yourself an issue, is that you've not only turned a subjective take into an objective fact, but you've also insulted people for having a disagreement with you, right? And as I say, the reason you're getting compared to somebody like Saint Tontas is because you're kind of making parallel mistakes and you're doing similar things, and this is what's causing you issues. You know, so yeah, again, I do like Tolborough, man. I've got a lot of time for him. I think he makes great content. He's an intelligent dude. I think he does generate really good discourse. I just think now and again, dude gets really reactive because he's really passionate about the game, and that's beautiful to see, right? But I think he frames things in a way that is going to generate discourse that's toxic. And then when he gets it, he's like, wait a minute, why am I getting this toxic discourse? It's like, you know, as I say, I got shit on for having an opinion on a bike, but I made sure to repeat the mantra over and over again. This is just my opinion. Doesn't work, so you'd still probably get shit on. But if you're going to go to the point of making it a statement of fact almost, and then saying to the people who disagree, well, you're a fucking bot, of course you're going to get people shitting on you, bro. Like, you know, it's going to happen. Let's have a look at this here. 90% of your problem lies within how you deal with and deliver them. Even in the image, Super has more credibility in you since he made it clear he doesn't want to cause a war. Also, I know you remove comments in your posts. That's way worse than Super deleting his own statement. Yeah, I'm hiding and blocking replies because they're replying in bad faith and turning it into a dog pile. I see nothing wrong with it. Should every single tweet that gets pushed back be deleted? You must understand. See, yeah, like, if you're going to go out there, putting your opinion out there and stating it as facts, like, delete whatever you want to delete on your posts on YouTube and your comment section, whatever, right? I don't care about that stuff, if I'm honest, but you're gonna expect people to call you out for it as well, right? Because if you're going to say that, you're voicing your opinion in a pretty bad faith way, if I'm honest. I've tried to give him as much credit in a pretty bad faith way, and then you get bad faith responses. What do you expect? Like, if you were coming at it from a good faith angle and being as subjective as you can and not insulting people as well, then I could understand you being incredibly frustrated and want to get rid of the people who are coming in with bad faith arguments. But you're starting the conversation from an objective statement and then insulting people who would see differently, and then are like, well, they're coming at me with bad faith. It's like, you know, it's to be expected, man. You know what the internet's like. You know what the gacha space is like. And yeah, I think you are continually repeating the same errors over and over again. And I don't think you need to, man. I get how you feel, right? But I don't think you need to tackle it the way you're tackling it personally. But at the end of the day, I ain't going to police somebody on how they speak. But I will comment on it. And I will definitely, like, you know, be like, well, you can't be mad when people are coming at you, right? You know, obviously there's levels, and I'm sure people have got too crazy about it, and those people are probably dicks. But at the same time, right, look, you got to be careful about what you're saying about people, right? As I say, that whole thing, I'm not into it, and it does make me feel a bit weird as well, but I still wouldn't call those people that without any proof. And I definitely wouldn't be throwing it around in public as well. And yeah, it's just some images as well to show that, you know, Arknights has dabbled with, you know, goonery type stuff in the past. It's not new. And he's not saying he's got an issue with gooners stuff anyway, but I just wanted to point that out. Like, you know, again, he did say that the goon isn't the problem. He just thinks it's bad goon. But some people won't think that. That really cool, look pretty good to me. But anyway, guys, I'd love to know what you think down below. Man, Moose is the real prophet in this situation. Bro was like, yo, is it the most divisive gacha game? And I was like, no. What's bro on about? He was fucking right, man. But anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all in the next one. Get on now.